We touched on recruiting a little bit. Logan made a couple comments concerning the footprints of both schools. So these campuses are roughly how far away from each other? They're both along that panhandle, southern coast shoreline to a certain extent. So we don't have to Google it right now, but
Tallahassee to Baton Rouge is probably about, I would guess, 8.5, 9 hours.
Okay, it's a pretty healthy drive, but still, what are the recruiting? I would think if both of these programs are on top of their game, then the recruiting ramifications should be huge, because we're talking about battling for top 10, top 50 players in the country. But they're not necessarily on their games. Maybe Brian Kelly's recruiting at that point early in the 23 class, but are there recruiting ramifications from this one?
Well, let me start with Florida State going into Louisiana. They had the I don't even know what happened to this guy, Destin Hill. They got him a few years ago, and then last year they ran it for Kendrick Law, and getting into Louisiana is tough, right? Saban could do it; he's done it, year in and year out. A&M's done a good job, but LSU does a really good job keeping up the fence there. But really, LSU's done a decent job over the years in Florida, so it could be a big game in that sense. I don't know how Logan feels about it. I do think this is a bigger game for Florida State when it comes to recruiting, just because of and once again, I'm just going to set the fire here in your chat. I don't mean to do it for Florida State fans, just because, the crystal ball thing is rolling right now. I mean, look, Mario did a good job getting my favorite running back out of Louisiana last year in Trevante Citizen. But more so just, keeping the state of Florida intact. Norvell's got to catch up. I mean, especially considering Napier has done a really good job building a staff. Florida's just gotten that much more competitive for, a state that produces a lot of talent.
Yeah, no, we talked about it earlier, but definitely very important for Florida State on their side of things with recruiting. I don't think it's so much. Definitely, I mean, you definitely don't want to have Florida State come in on LSU side and come away with a win right there at home. It wouldn't be a great start for Brian Kelly and what he's trying to do on the road for recruiting. But, for Florida State, they're trying to find any kind of momentum, let alone, I mean, they basic thing for them, they've got to find wins. But if you're trying to get into that New Orleans area, again, you're able to grab Destin Hill. We'll see, there's some optimism that Hill should be arriving hopefully this summer. Actually got some good word about him this week. So that's a really good sign to have him actually come in and get onto the campus of Florida State. But, Norvell was able to go in and grab him a big time playmaker, but kind of starts slowing down. Start slowing down whenever you don't get wins and you have 8 wins in 2 seasons. Not so pretty. And so Florida State simply, they've got to go in and compete, but there's going to be a lot of recruits. This is a Sunday. This is what I love. Florida State does, I have to give it to them. They do have a lot of games, including the UF game, where they're kind of on nights where not a lot of other games, sometimes not even any other games are going on in the country. So this allows for a lot of recruiting trips, a lot of players to come in and watch these games. And so you're going to have a lot of talent in the area along with inside the house there to watch these games. And so it'll be fun. It'll be a big recruiting weekend there for Florida State. And there's a lot of guys too out of Louisiana that they would love to grab offensive line wise. Continued growth there for Florida State and trying to get into the Louisiana area, because there is a lot of talent there. And just like you said, it's hard to get in there. There's only a few coaches, very select few that are able to do it. But it kind of stunk there for Florida State, because they were having some momentum, but that's all because of the new coach. You get the whole hoopla, yada 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 kind of stuff going on, and you have that momentum there. But now you're at a stale point, and the only way to get away from a stale point is coming away with a victory week 2 for FSU. And that, I don't know, it's going to be a big time recruiting weekend, at least for an FSU side.
And Mark, just to give you one spicy storyline before I get out of here, this is where it gets really interesting, right? So this game's being played in the Superdome. It's going to be a Sunday night. And the Saints, of course, playing the Dome. So you're going to have Jameis Winston going up against Jarvis Landry and Tyrann Mathieu. So I'm sure they're going to be guest captains there. I'm sure, I mean, as you guys know, those three three of the biggest personalities in the NFL. So I know it's like a little side note that has nothing to do with the game, but it could be. We all James eat that W. You don't know if that pep talk could be the difference. That could be the pump. Tyrann Mathieu and Jarvis Landry are known for their pep talk, and their leadership. So that's another storyline.